Took a break from coof coverage yesterday, mostly because it's getting to a point of being completely and totally overwhelming. See, I can't even form my sentences properly. It seems to be trending once again in a very, very, very detrimental way. No other way to put it, really. I thought that, maybe naively, of course, that once the vaccines became available, all the initial studies were showing that they were, 3,000% accurate, and you'd be able to drive through a brick wall without being able to be injured whatsoever. But then as this month started to go on and more rogue breakthrough cases started to show up, and then information started to get suppressed on it. Then now with the CDC saying that even vaccinated people need to start wearing masks indoors, and now with people starting to enforce them in different places. Boy, Don's just about at his breaking point. I absolutely hate running this stuff back just about every fucking day, but they keep on pushing all of this crazy shit over and over and over again, and I gotta get the word out there. Even if it just hits a few people, I need to get the word out there, because this stuff is tyrannical. This is the stuff that happens one step at a time, and the people in charge, they do not hold the line on this. Because it started out, all we need is 2 weeks. Everybody was on board with that. And now, here we are, 18 months later, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. It's like we lived the past year and a half in an absolute state of stasis. Everybody's poorer, everybody's fatter, everybody's more depressed. Look at those numbers. Look at those studies, because they're actually available. We've talked about them. Some of them have been taken down. Some of them have been attempted to be struck off this channel, all because of these terrorists in the government, in these government entities that have such a lust for power, and they just getting away with so much. And then at the end of the day, when they realize that this might end up being a losing battle, at least for right now, until something else comes along, they're all going to get away with it. They're all going to get away with it. Everybody will just be so relieved when freedom is bestowed back upon them. Fauci's not going to face anything. Biden's not going to face anything. All of those liars, all of those deceivers are just going to walk away, wipe their hands clean of this entire situation. They'll just put this horrible, 2 years behind them, because I don't see this ending through the end of the year. We're still a little ways off from the election cycle, so they still have this a little carrot they can keep on putting on a farther stick for everybody to chase in order to make it another election topic. Sorry to be a downer, that's just how I feel at the outset of this, because when I was gathering information, when I was getting all my articles ready for this, it was not an impressive find. It was much more of a depressing find, but let's try to make some jokes. This is getting a little too heavy for me. CDC studies propelling shift in mask guidance not available, because they've already trademarked the follow the science slogan. They just don't need to follow it, though, because literally, if they're saying just follow the science, just wear a mask. Okay, what science are you following? The word of our Lord and Savior, Dr. Anthony Fauci? There's nothing you're following. I don't get it. What's going on? Studies that prompted the Center for Disease Control and Prevention to change their mask guidance for vaccinated persons are not available, a spokesperson told the Epoch Times. They have not been published yet. It just goes to show you how confident they are with even their own numbers. Oh my God. Dr. Rochelle Walensky, who we're unfortunately going to have to talk about in the last article, but it's going to be a doozy. Director told reporters on Wednesday the 27th that she has seen, so just trust her, because we believe all women around here. New scientific data from recent outbreak investigations, indicating the Delta variant of the virus, which causes COVID-19, was presenting more uniquely than other strains. How so, good doctor? Why don't you share that fucking information? I've seen the studies. What are in the studies? You don't get to know that information. You're on a need-to-know basis. We're in charge. You follow. Gonna be too much. And not in like, I'm gonna go cry in a corner too much. Very much the opposite. Very much the opposite. Information from several states and other countries indicate that in rare occasions, some vaccinated people infected with the Delta variant after vaccination may be contagious and spread the virus to others. May, could, potentially, possibly some. And that's what we're legislating for. Not for the majority. Pandering, once again, to the minority of cases. You literally can't make this stuff up. They are, in reference to the science, but that motivated officials at agencies to change masking guidances. Fully vaccinated persons told 2 months ago that they could stop wearing masks indoors are now being told to don, don't you use that name in vain, the coverings when inside. Yep, and it's starting. It's starting everywhere, but okay, I tried to find some kind of study, okay? Something to prove that, okay, maybe Delta variant, Epsilon, Horsalon, Epipensilon, maybe one of those is just so horrifically deadly and it makes you, I don't know, piss blood out of your eyes or whatever the fuck else they want to try to lump onto this shit when at the end of the day, I've had it. I can only speak to my experiences as per YouTube's edict, but I was a little bit tired for a couple days and I still made videos and I still got my 8 miles a day. So I don't really know what the fuck is going on here, why we're legislating masks and potentially even worse going into the future, just for the people who have several comorbidities and take a fat L when they get elected, or not elected. Nobody in this story is elected. They're just all tyrants. No, but when they get infected. Why are we pandering to that small group? This is what I came up with. U.S. coronavirus death rate is still roughly at pandemic low. Yup. The number that everybody was scared of at the beginning, before everything started to open up back again in May of 2020, especially in like Georgia and Florida, those places that were like, yeah, no, we're just going to go ahead and try to forge forward. Everybody was supposed to die in those places, but at least there were enough people still alive in Florida to vindicate the decision of Ron DeSantis, and unfortunately enough people did die in Georgia to vote Democrat in the election. But after everything started to open up and mask mandates started to get lifted, something started to disappear. The amount of daily deaths and who was dying, mostly because those numbers were unimpressive when you started to take a look at everybody who was getting infected. Okay, they popped on the test, okay? Don't question the efficacy of the tests themselves. Don't ask what symptoms they are experiencing either. Yeah, they tested positive, therefore cases are going up through the roof. How many people are dying? Don't ask that question. It doesn't fit our narrative. And that still is the case. It's been the case for over a year now. My lord. The United States coronavirus death rates is still roughly at a pandemic low, as the Center for Disease Control and Prevention recommend Tuesday the vaccinated individuals and children wear masks indoors. According to Google's coronavirus tracking system, on July 26th, 275 people are dying from the virus on a 7-day average. Oh, wow. This is what we're fighting against. We're fighting against a standard that is absolutely impossible to meet. Nobody should be dying from the coronavirus. Obviously, every death's tragic, right? But more people die driving every day. So should we all just stop driving? More people die from cigarette smoking every single day, probably every single hour than that. Are you going to get rid of cigarettes? Alcohol, we can continue to run down the list. Should we ban all sugary foods from the supermarkets? That'll kill more people. But nope. The only thing that matters is this virus that is just not killing people at a clip that warrants this type of attention. And not enough people know that. Around the high of the coronavirus deaths on January 20th, when President Joe Biden took office, 3,056 people were dying on a 7-day average. A little bit different than 275. Since January, coronavirus deaths have steadily decreased. Why isn't Biden trumpeting that? Oh, because he wants power. That's exactly why it is, okay? If you wanted to take this big dub that everything is starting to fall down, then people would probably start comparing to the year-over-year data and realize that, oh boy, this is really just kind of tracking like a seasonal thing. Interesting. But no, if people are still dying and if cases are still up and new variants are being discovered, you can still die on that hill. I see you. On February 20th, 1,904 people were dying on a 7-day average. The numbers dipped again in March to 1,083. On April 20th, smoke up, man. The number had decreased to 784 deaths on average per 7 days. May saw the number shrink to 595, and in June, the average 7-day death rate was down to 300. Something's working. something's working. And because pretty much everywhere has started to lift mask mandates, there's something you can obviously point to there. But nah, this is more being able to condition you to be a sheep. Honestly, I wish there was a more delicate way I can put this, but the government said, oh yeah, you've been a good boy, okay? You followed us, you just put on your mask, you didn't think about it. Now, because all the numbers are looking good, you can take them off. And then a couple months later, oh yeah, in fact, taking them off was a bad idea, and those numbers that were going down, don't remember any of that. Now they're going back up because nobody was wearing masks, so we need to get you guys to put masks back on. You can just fuck right off. But another thing too, you look at more numbers and then some more unsavory numbers start to show up. And this is still a really good efficacy rate, even still, because I think like the seasonal flu, which you can actually talk about freely and discuss, is about 60 some odd %. And this is still really fucking good. Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine effectiveness drops to 84%. Yeah, it was touted as being like 98%, 99% effective. But now, once there's more data out there, because you can't really study the long-term effects of a vaccine if you don't have a long-term study to conduct. Seems pretty fucking reasonable. The effectiveness of the COVID vaccine from Pfizer in preventing symptomatic infection drops by more than 10% after 6 months. Okay, the 2-dose vaccine developed in conjunction with Germany's BioNTech was found to be 96% Othari sensors. 96. I thought it was even more effective than that. I was trying to follow the science there. However, the efficacy drops in the following months, declining to 83.7% after 4 to 6 months, which is why Pfizer just wants to get you to pay out of pocket a little bit more. It was never about solving the virus. It was never about keeping people safe. It was all about lining the pockets. It's what these elected officials do. That's what they do. They turned something that was supposed to be a civic duty into a profession. We need term limits. We need term limits on everybody who gets a government money. Okay? Because they get a little too comfy, they get a little bit too cozy, and then they start to believe their own bullshit. Let's read just a touch of this. The data which the company is expected to discuss in an earnings call on Wednesday claims a third shot of the COVID vaccine can boost protection against the virus variant. But it wasn't that long ago they were talking about boosters with just a little bit of hee-haw, attitude. COVID-19 vaccine, third dose strongly boosts neutralizing titers against Delta strain 1-2. Page 27 of the slide presentation reads. It goes on to suggest that the antibody levels against the Delta variant are greater than 5-fold for those 18 to 55 in a third shot, and is now more than 11-fold in individual ages 65 to 85%. Now, at the risk of literally everything, I gotta question a study and some data from the corporation who stands to make the most money from a third dose. I would like to see more science, but it just goes to show you that's why the first article of the day was in fact the first article of the day, because these government entities aren't going by the science. They're going by the seat of their pants. And on the heels of all of this really inspirational news about vaccines, vaccine mandates for all federal employees under consideration. Yep, and this is where it gets very, very depressing. Because it just starts with federal employees. And then you get your smaller actors to go out there and you start enforcing the same mandates, and then they start running down the exact same stuff. Oh, you get fun. You got subsidized by the government. You got bailed out after we shut down all your businesses. Oh, you only get access to that bailout money if you make sure all your employees are vaccinated. That's how they're going to do this, okay? The groundwork is already there. That's what they did in 2008. You can only get the bailout money if you follow these simple steps. President Joe Biden said on July 27th that his administration is considering mandating all federal workers get the jab. That's under consideration right now, Biden said about his dinner order. When asked if federal employees should be required to get vaccinated. Biden was in McLean, Virginia, but he probably thought it was in New Hampshire to address members of the intelligence community, something that he envies a lot. Biden also blamed people who are unvaccinated for fueling the pandemic. Remember, it was just a kooky conspiracy theory and something that should be condemned when Governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, said it. Oh, we don't want to start blaming people who are unvaccinated. And then a couple days later, Joe Biden starts blaming people who are unvaccinated, and it's oh, stunning and brave. You should be able to start ramping up the different forms of influence to get people vaccinated. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Fucking clowns. We have a pandemic because of the unvaccinated, and they're showing enormous confusion. Dude, was this entire speech projection? And there's only one thing we know for sure. Those other 100 million people got vaccinated, and we'd be in a very different world. Au contraire, I've seen the numbers. Apparently you haven't. Thanks, Joe. But what else is going on? Well, it'll start at the federal level, but they're going to start running test cases at very blue, very democratic states, and New York's hopping on board. Cuomo announces COVID-19 vaccine mandate for state employees. There's the test run. Biden's just figuring it out. He's seen how far he can push people. Cuomo? Yeah, no, anything to distract from his multiple ethics violations. This, once again, just panders to his Democratic base that everybody should get the jab, everybody should be wearing masks, everybody should be staying home. And if everybody would just do their part for the greater good, comrade, we'd be able to defeat this. That's not the case. This, like it or not, is going to be around forever. Some form or another. It'll continue to mutate. It'll continue to be a different variant. We're just going to have to live with it, okay? At the end of the day, that's the only thing that's going to happen. But no, telling people that they need to get jabbed, telling people that they need to continue to wear face diapers in perpetuity, for what benefit? For what benefit? Okay, you get the jab. Okay, the entire allure of that is you get to go back to normal life. We'll use their terms. We'll spare you from breaking down every sentence. But now, all of a sudden, you start walking that back. What's the point? What's the point? Breakthrough cases exist. Okay, you keep telling us that that's the big problem and that's the driving factor behind this. But then you keep telling us that it's rare and highly unlikely because vaccines are super effective. You can't speak out of both sides of your mouth on this issue. But you can if you're just outright open hypocrites and people will just continue to cheerlead for you. So let's get to what Cuomo had to say, I guess. President Joe Biden is responsible, that he's going to announce soon that all the federal employees must get vaccinated or get tested. New York State is doing the same, okay? Look it, he's thinking about it, but we're just gonna fucking do it, cause up here in New York, we're just gonna fucking do it. And if you don't, guess what? I show up with some fucking needles in my fist and I fucking jam them into your fucking arm. You got it? Good. Now, don't let me see you come back here. On Tuesday, Biden said the mandate for all federal workers to get the CCP virus jab is under consideration, so he can't even get his fucking facts straight. Go figure. He probably spotted a hot intern out there in the crowd. It's smart. It's fair. It's in everyone's interest. Between you and me. You and my friend over there. We need to get the jab, okay? Cuomo continued, noting that he's working with state unions to implement a mandate by Labor Day. And see, because state unions all get fed, or in this case, state-level funding, so they have a say, they have influence in this, and this is how it happens. That's why all of those jobs in the infrastructure bill that we talked about in the previous video, that's what I warned against. He's just telling you that that's the fact right there. I'm not psychic. I do a little bit of reading ahead to make sure that the articles are accurate, but outside of that, I just connect the dots. It's right there. It's letting you know that all of this stuff is a plan. The response to this is a total fucking plan. They just want to have more leverage over your life. This is the biggest encroachment on your personal freedom since the Patriot Act, without a doubt, 100%. We let it happen the first time. You let it happen again, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. And ahead of the potential for forced jabs, the Department of Homeland Security is saying that people need to mask up. Once again, regardless of status, because the forced jabs are happening for the healthcare workers associated with the Veterans Affairs wing of the federal government, but now the DHS, all those people that don't do their job down there at the border. I'm not talking about the individuals that are on the ground patrolling the fences, catching the kids getting thrown over the fence. I'm talking about the bureaucrats that are in charge, that are running all this stuff. They're making the decision. And I don't get it. I really don't get it. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security on July 28th, that's today, announced that all employees, regardless of vaccination status, have to wear masks and physically distance themselves indoors. The policy will go into effect immediately, the department said in a statement. The DHS oversees a number of different agencies, including Customs and Border Patrol, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the Transportation Security Administration. How long before they have to start making people who come in contact with these workers also follow the same guidelines? I don't know the next time I'm going to be able to travel, but I'm thinking it's going to be another year or so. God damn it. God fucking damn it. DHS is following the new Center for Disease Control Prevention guidance, which they made up out of thin fucking air, and the OMB instructions to ensure that the safety of our workplace. Beginning today, all employees, regardless of vaccination status, will be required to wear a mask indoors and physically distance. Soon it'll be sending everybody home again, and we'll just be back in this fucking never-ending cycle because you guys just don't want to face the facts that it's here, it's queer, get used to it. And it's already coming for private industry. Very obvious private industry. It's coming for Hollywood. Netflix, one of the biggest players right now. Sure, they might not produce the best quality television. In fact, they're the production house that just pushed out that abortion that was Masters of the Universe. Anybody who works for Netflix has to get the jab. No questions asked. Are they going to have to start wearing masks? No questions asked? Oh, only time will tell, but I think we know where the safe bet lies. Netflix has reportedly become the first Hollywood studio to mandate full COVID-19 vaccinations for all actors working on the streamer's U.S. productions. The vaccine will also be required for all crew members who come in contact with them. So everybody who's on the set. Everybody who's on the set has to get the jab. A jab from a company where a lot of these lawmakers have a significant amount of stock. Quinky of a goddamn dink now, isn't it? Deadline reported Wednesday that Netflix is requiring vaccinations for everyone working in Zone A, an area of the set where actors congregate and where actors come in close proximity to crew members. Netflix is reportedly trying to keep exceptions very rare, including for medical, religious, or age reasons, and possibly in a few cases for series and films that are already in production, according to Deadline. The decision comes shortly after major Hollywood studios and unions reached an agreement. Buying off Hollywood. You wonder why everything is absolute a boiling shit coming out of Hollywood? Well, there you go. Last week, allowing production to require full vaccinations as a requirement for work on a production. The agreement remains in effect through September 30th and will be extended in perpetuity until the next thing comes along. And finally, the big kicker. Remember when this was a conspiracy theory? Remember when, this was just people being paranoid? CDC director, vaccine passports may very well be the path forward in the United States. This is where people in Europe started to take to the street. You don't want an armed populace taking to the streets. You really don't. This is going to make 2020 look like fucking child's play if you go forward with this. We'll see if Biden wants to follow through on his threat of the population needing nukes and F-14 fighter jets in order to go up against the government. We're going to see things get fucking spicy if these bureaucrats get their way. And we see this, it's always floated out beforehand, and then a couple of weeks, couple months later, here it comes. So get ready, I guess. Center for Disease Control and Prevention Director Rochelle Walensky suggested the vaccine passport style systems might be implemented in the United States amid the COVID-19 pandemic. When asked in a TV interview Wednesday about whether the United States could mandate a European-style health pass system for nightclubs or bars, Walensky said, that may very well be the path forward. The director said that in some fully vaccinated venues, it is possible for a fully vaccinated individual to transmit and pick up COVID-19 in those settings, and added that federal officials have seen that during studies. Again, see, maybe, potentially, possibly, perhaps. All of these weasel words, so that when the numbers hit the population, when the public has access to them, they can just spin whatever narrative they want. They're purposefully vague when they describe this stuff that they want to keep from you. because it's all about instilling fear. Comments came after the CDC announced Tuesday that it would recommend people wear masks in some high transmission areas. Yeah, sure, I don't care at this point. The only thing is, I just don't know if the United States, Canada, any like Western nation is really going to fight back on this side of the border, okay? Because you've seen every other country over there in continental Europe rise up against this. I just think that we're really hyper-partisan at this point. One side wants one thing, reflexively, the other side will just take the opposite position. Logic be damned. I just don't know how these same people who would continue to champion the Trump piss tapes, who would still continue to shout Russia, Russia, Russia from the fucking rooftops, the same people who have fully vaccinated or changed their profile picture to include a mask, would side against vaccine passports. I don't see that happening on a large scale. I don't think that they are a large group of people, but they have the megaphone. They have the ear of the people making the decisions. And that's what's unsettling. So I hope I don't have to make a follow-up to this video a couple days, in a couple weeks, in a month's time, lamenting the creation of vaccine passports, but I think it's getting fast-tracked, and I'm not optimistic about it. If I'm about to put a number on it, I don't know. I think it's a little bit better than half. I'd say that there's about a 3/5 chance of this actually happening. And where it goes from there, I'll let you extrapolate that for yourself. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.